In the beginning, being in a relationship with someone with borderline personality disorder feels out of this world. The chemistry, the passion, the emotional and spiritual connection, it's like she sees into your soul and it's intoxicating. You feel more alive, loved, and understood than ever before. But then, almost without warning, something drastic shifts. A minor issue, something most people would brush off, sparks a massive explosion. The accusations start, the push pull begins, and before you know it, you've been pulled into what I call the borderline abyss. And this is a place where logic doesn't exist. I'm Lise Leblanc, therapist, author, and life coach, and I work with men from all over the world who've been in this exact type of relationship. And in this video, I'm talking about what it's really like to love someone with untreated BPD and why it's so destructive. And stick with me till the end because I'll explain the main reasons why you stayed despite the slow decline in your sanity. But before we get to why you stayed, let's go back to how it all began. Because the way these relationships start is exactly what makes them so hard to walk away from. When you're with someone with borderline personality disorder, it all feels so magical at first. It's intense and it's like nothing you've ever experienced before. You really do feel like you're on top of the world, like you've found your soulmate, the love of your life, and you can't believe it. And then out of nowhere, maybe a few weeks into the relationship, it happens. One day she's triggered over something small, often things that most people wouldn't even notice. Maybe you didn't text back quickly enough, or maybe you mentioned another woman's name in passing, a coworker, an old friend, or maybe you've just got plans to go out for a beer with the guys. To you, it's nothing much. To her, it's everything. Her reaction is like a switch being flipped. Suddenly, you're facing an outburst of epic proportions, and you don't get it because it is so out of touch with reality. And the more you try to explain, the worse things get. The accusations are flying so fast, it's making your head spin. You're being accused of cheating, lying, betrayal, and it's just coming at you rapid fire faster than you can even process. You could present solid proof, phone records, messages, receipts. It wouldn't matter. No amount of evidence will erase her suspicion. Then comes the push and pull. So she breaks up with you, blocks you, and cuts you off. You're in shock, blindsided, and yet the angry messages keep coming. Maybe from another account, maybe by email, maybe through a friend. Other times she disappears without a trace. No call, no text, no explanation. Days or even weeks of silence, leaving you pacing, wondering if she's gone for good. All the while, you might see her posting online as though nothing happened, smiling and laughing with other men. And just when you finally begin to accept it's over, she reappears. A text, a call, an I miss you, and suddenly you're being pulled right back in, hoping this time will be different. But soon, the exact same storm erupts, and it's back and forth, up and down, until your nervous system is raw and your whole world feels upside down. At first, you may rationalize it, telling yourself she's just stressed out, traumatized, it's a rough patch, things will go back to the way they were in the beginning if you can just show her how much you love her and get her to trust you. And you really do love her. But what you don't realize at this stage is that this is a cycle that without intensive treatment only gets worse over time. And the longer you stay in it, the heavier the costs become. To help you understand just how destructive a relationship with someone with severe untreated BPD can be, I want to share the experience of someone who's lived through it. Here's how he described it to me. Having unknowingly married a woman with severe untreated BPD, I was as supportive as anyone could possibly be. I stood by her through the storms, through the drama, through the endless accusations. And I don't doubt for a second that she was suffering inside. Her rage, her threats, her destruction, all of it came from a deep, unresolved trauma. But unhealed trauma doesn't just hurt the person who carries it. It spills over, devastating everyone around them. She wasn't diagnosed until years into our marriage, but by then the damage was already piling up. Still, I honored my vows because they meant something to me. Through sickness and health, for better or worse, I stayed and I did everything I could to help. But you can't heal someone and you can't force them into therapy. And she was untreated. And it was chaos. Wedding pictures smashed on the floor, threats to sleep with my best friend, using our children as pawns, screaming matches. And after an especially horrific and abusive incident that went so far past my boundaries and deal breakers, I finally realized the abuse would never stop. And I had to leave. It wasn't easy because every time I tried to leave, the tears, the apologies, the promises would come. The emotional blackmail, too, threats of self harm, threats that she'd ruin me if I left. And I felt like I was trapped, torn between compassion for her suffering, my own sense of obligation, guilt, and integrity, and the fear that leaving would be even worse than staying. So even after everything that had happened, I still felt like I hadn't tried hard enough, that maybe she would change if she went to therapy. But in the end, it was me who ended up in therapy to try to undo the damage and find peace again. So if it's this bad, you might be wondering, why would anyone stay? Or if this is you, why you stayed for so long? Well, first of all, you walked in innocently. You met someone, there was a spark, and suddenly you're with a woman who is so exciting, edgy, sexy, someone who makes you feel on top of the world. You open your heart, convinced you found the one. And your brain is getting hooked on those highs, the idealization, the passion, the incredible sex, the intensity of being adored. At this stage, you don't know anything about borderline personality disorder. You don't know about these cycles. You don't know about the storm that's coming. And she shares her trauma story early on, and your compassion kicks in. Your provider and protector instincts kick in. She just needs someone steady, someone safe. And you think, I'll be the guy who finally proves to her that love doesn't have to hurt. You promise not to be like the others. You try to convince her she's safe and that you won't abandon her. And what you don't realize is you've been positioned in the hero role, which is mission impossible. And you're getting pulled into a trauma bond. By the time you sense that something is truly off, you're already all in, totally invested, totally addicted. And once the push pull begins, the breakups, the blocking, the accusations, the disappearing acts, the abusive behavior, and impulsive betrayals, it all just strengthens the trauma bond. And just like an addict chasing the next fix, as time goes on, the more desperate you become to get back to that intoxicating high. It's not just emotional anymore, it's chemical. This is why, even when the chaos begins, you cling to the hope that things will return to how they were in the beginning. That's cognitive dissonance. On one side, you see the destruction, the accusations, the chaos. On the other side, you're holding on to the memory of those magical times together. And your mind tells you if it was that good once, then it can be that good again. And this is where the fog sets in, that fear, obligation, and guilt. And you fear you might be making a big mistake, that some better man will come along and succeed where you failed, or that if you leave, something terrible will happen. You feel obligated to stay because of her trauma, because of the promises you made, because of your integrity. The guilt can be crushing, and this is how good men get trapped in these impossible situations. If you're in a relationship with someone who has untreated borderline personality disorder, you need to understand that this is not something you can fix. And if you stay too long, you risk losing yourself completely. And if you're watching this and you have borderline personality disorder, you are not the villain either. But you do need treatment, real specialized treatment, because your suffering matters, and so does the suffering of the people who cross your path and try to love you. So, as the partner of someone with BPD, even if you do manage to leave, these relationships can haunt you for a very long time. The anger, grief, nostalgia, the trauma, the endless cycles, they stay lodged in your nervous system. You can feel like you're still stuck in this abyss long after the relationship ends. And if this is where you're at, please consider working with a therapist who understands trauma bonds, or take my toxic relationship recovery program that I link below, where I'll walk you step by step through breaking free, healing the trauma, and reclaiming your life. You don't have to stay stuck. There is a way out. If you found this content helpful, please take a moment to subscribe and consider sharing your experience in the comment section below to help others see that they're not alone.